It's the third live show in a row. Third Monday. We are live. Everything looking good, sounding good. Yes, good. So welcome to everyone in the TikTok land and to the YouTube world. Again, we're doing the last show of the basement rebuild. You can see behind you, this is the same wall. I sanded and primed it. Used my kill spray on my little picture that I drew from last week. All right. And that's it. We're going to show you guys how to paint, a couple of restoration tips, little processes, tools that you're going to need to do a decent paint job, and cheats that you can paint your whole basement and not have to paint the whole thing twice, right? So we're going to show a little bit of that as well tonight. Tonight, we're going to have a little bit more fun, all right? I think we're all over the tragedy and the distraught is gone. Now it's just about getting the work done. So we're going to go live in the questions. I'm going to step in and just do the finished paint up, do all what I got to do tonight, but I'm going to answer questions back and forth, TikTok and YouTube all night long. Okay, we're going to have a 2-hour show tonight. Anything you want to ask about is fair game. So if you've got a renovation or remodeling question and you're looking for some help or some clarity, then I'm happy to share my 2 bits. Okay. All right. Well, let's just jump into this. I have the chat. Yeah, Eric, can we get that popped up there, bud? Thank you very much. All righty. Once again, if you got any questions, let's do that. Here we go. Let me just give you a quick update. We are still working on a farmhouse. We're in the last phase. We've got cleaners there today. I've got window cleaners arrived this afternoon. We are getting the house staged this weekend and it's going on the market in a week or so. I know, it's kind of freaky. So I'm really glad because I haven't had a day off since August 24th. That's nuts. That's 4 weeks without a day off. I've been busting my butt. Anyway, it's almost done, and I'm excited because as soon as that one's done, we get to start working on the church and working on our studio. But I get a bit more of a normal schedule, right? So for me, I'm looking forward to having a normal schedule because then we can start, getting back to normal business. I've been a little bit, off the ranch lately, it seems like. I get home and I just pass out. I'm so tired. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what you just said there, Matt. Feel free to.
Step to your left, half a step, and bring the mic with you to get in the shot with TikTok here.
Okay. Wow.
Good.
Really?
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Okay. I love the technology. All right, guys. Flashing in the background? Yeah, probably. This is an oil spray kills. And so let's just jump right into this. I'm going to grab my products and my tools. I'll show you what I'm using. It's a basic kit. Here we go. All right. Now, if you remember in the first video, I cut a patch in the wall, and I took that to the paint store. I actually dropped it off this morning, picked the paint up on the way back today. They do color matching technology with computers now, so it's really quick and simple. In the old days, they used to have a guy who was just like, I don't know, like an idiot savant, kind of had a gift. He could just look at it and know, and he could work the formula and tweak it and make it for you and get pretty close. Nowadays, with that computer technology, they're within 3 to 4% of perfect. And that's really close enough for what you're going to be doing, okay? So if you're looking to save some time and energy and you've got a repainting job, take a patch somewhere where it's going to be in a shadow, not in direct light. You can take it to the store, refer to that first video. You can see us do that. And you can get a paint match done where you just do your touch-ups, you prime it, you do your first coat with a mini roller or a brush, and then you cut and roll the whole wall once. It'll save you a lot of time and energy, all right? Okay, here we go. I saw one question that was kind of interesting. Julian's asking, do you need permits if there's water damage? Great question. In the world of remediation and restoration, there are no permits required to restore something from damage. This is the case. You don't need building permits to restore water damage. So you can tear your basement in half. As long as you're not changing your electrical or changing your rough-in plumbing, you don't need to get a permit to do any of that work. I know, it's amazing, but that's one of the things that they've got set up. I don't know if that's the case in every state around the world, but it is definitely the case here in Ontario and in a lot of jurisdictions that I'm aware of. So if you have information on that, you want to throw it in the comment section, that's a really good question. But for the most part, people don't have issues with that. Okay. Oh, wow, nice. Somebody had a flood 2 days ago. Yeah, they happen all through the year for a lot of different reasons. You've got 10 fans and dehumidifiers. That's nice. That's it's almost a little ridiculous, to be honest with you. But these insurance restoration companies, they have protocols and they can charge rental fees on every piece of equipment every day to the insurance company. So that's why they do that. If they're not busy and they've got the equipment around, they'll throw 20, 30 pieces of equipment at your house. This time of year, you can just open the windows and you're fine in a week anyway. But that's just their business model, right? So they can have you dry it out in about 45 minutes if you do that. That's nice. How do you tile a floor that wasn't properly squared when being built? Where do you start? The most obvious visible lines and transitions to other flooring. You want to rank it. So if you're going from tile to a hardwood, okay, where you're going to have lines in the wood, you want to be square and perpendicular to that wood, and you want to start off that and base off that. If you have a really long wall and then the rest of the house is totally out of square, think about where all your furniture is going to go and pick the most obvious, longest wall and square off to that. Those are really the only 2 pieces of advice I can give you on that one. Okay? Cheers. All right. The other thing is make sure you don't have slivers. If you're not square, you don't see it on 2/3 of a tile. But if you have like a 1-inch strip to nothing, that's going to scream at you forever. Cheers. Let's get into this, guys. All right. Hey, look at that. I got a microphone all the way down to the ground today. Wow. All right. So here's the paint. I went to the paint store. We discussed for a few minutes about which particular line we were going to go with. Because we're not just matching the color. We're trying to match the sheen. And we're trying to match the level of acrylic in the paint. There's a few different things going on here. So this is our best guess that it's an acrylic paint that's a flat. Okay? Hopefully, it's close enough so that when I paint this wall, it looks like the rest of the walls in the room. Now, for anybody who's seen some of our older videos, we did a bathroom renovation, and in that, we showed the paint. And there's 2 corners of the wall, and one looked gray, one looked blue. But when I shine a light in that corner, they're both the same paint. Shadows have a huge effect. So when you're working in this environment, remember that the shadows are your friend. So if you can cut right into a corner, or you can do 1/2 of a room and then maybe no water in the other half, you can cheat and get away with a lot. Hang on a second. I'm going to need a brush. So my system is basically pour enough paint out so that you don't have too much sitting in the can. Just a couple of inches. Now you got a cutting can. All right. And the first thing you want to do is you want to do the brush. And it's called cutting in. All right. You stab, you gently wipe it off. Now this is my technique for painting for homeowners. Okay. I know you'll see guys in the painting world, they go like this. They go thunk, slap the sides and go. Okay. That's what professional painters are doing because they get more paint on the wall. They spend less time. But I'm going to suggest that for homeowners, if you're not a professional painter, fill your brush up by pushing it in, clean it off a little bit, give yourself some control. You can slow it down just a little bit and still get a professional result without the risk of getting paint everywhere. At this point, you don't worry about getting a little bit of paint on the baseboard. Because when we're all done, guess what? We're going to paint the top of the baseboard again too. Okay? Because we had to use a caulking joint, and we don't want that going gray over time. Paint around your receptacle areas. You don't want to use the roller here. You'll get paint all over the plug itself. Not to mention, you might pick up drywall dust on the roller and then drop it somewhere else off in the wall. That always makes a mess. There we go. That's the first cut. Now, I love the Sherlock Wooster products. It has a pin that goes on the handle, locks in place. There's a lot of handles out there that have got a thread on it, and then you're rolling, the handle starts to spin off. And it gets sloppy and wobbly, and you get paint lines all over the place. This guarantees you're never going to have streaks. It's absolutely brilliant. Now, the only way to work the paint into that roller the first time is by using it, okay? So don't get too worked up if the first run doesn't have any paint on the roller. Really, it's all about getting it on the wall and forcing it in. All right. Now, the first time we paint here, we're only going to go to about 5 or 6 feet. So that covers everything that we did. All of our marks, all of our mud, all of my painting. Okay, we just want to get our first coat on the unpainted surface. The handle also extends, so you don't have to bend over. Right? This should not be something that exhausts you. I'm telling you right now, everybody in the paint world, every time you see an ad, every time you see a commercial, oh my God, HGTV is famous for this. They make all these poor schleps paint like this with a hand roller, standing there like a moron all day. 10 minutes of that, you're ready for a break. Okay? Don't let these people lie to you. That's a really lousy way to paint. You get about 400 or so square feet of paint in a gallon if you paint with a stick. Without it, you're going to get 250. That means you need a second gallon for the room. Of course, they don't want you buying a stick. They want to sell you twice as much paint as you need, so be careful. Big pet peeve of mine. Every time I see a picture, some idiot standing there holding the roller in his hand. Ay, 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 ay. Anyway. Okay. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to finish off my first coat. We'll take some more questions. Yeah, when you use good paint, you can paint fast too, and it doesn't get all over you. All right, there we go. So we're good for another 20 minutes or so. All right, I'll get rid of that. Good. Wanted to show you one little trick. You notice the hole up here. Remember, I shoved that little baggie in the wall. And here's my little trick. If you've got an imperfection, well, you see it after your first coat, you don't have to stop what you're doing. Make mud, do a patch, sand it, prime it, and start all over again. Take your latex caulking, all right? And just fill it with that. This stuff here dries in 20 minutes. Okay? Now, when that wall is dry and ready for next coat, that little hole will be dried and it's already smooth. And latex caulking only needs one coat to finish. It doesn't flash. Cheers. That'll save your bacon. All right, let's get into some questions while we sit here and literally watch paint dry.
I've got one here.
Yes.
Just remember to repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always getting lines in my paint, probably from oversaturating the roller. Any tips?
Okay. You're going to love this. Yeah, we can make this painting school today if you want.
Don't forget to repeat it.
Pardon? Okay. So the question is, someone always gets lines in their paint when they're painting, and they want to get tips so that they can solve that problem. First of all, I'm using a 15 millimeter roller, which is, what is that? Is that 3/8 or 1/2 inch? I can't remember the American equivalent. Do I have a roller down there? The garbage? No. Anyway, it's thick. Okay. Check this out. Let me demonstrate right over here. All right. When you're rolling and you're full of paint, start off and just let gravity do the work. Get all that extra paint off. No pressure. Okay. Then you go into the second row and you can have a little bit of pressure. All right. Now you've got the majority of that surface covered and you're not pushing on the wall. All right. Like you're really painting with 4 fingers here. Okay. Now you see the way this is shaped here? Most of the pressure that you're putting on the wall is right here at this point. All right. So you want it painting in the direction that you finish. So you come down, go like this. Then you can go back to the top, real gentle, and you can just lift all the excess paint off the wall just by rolling it down the wall. Okay? The minute you start doing this, I'm going to get coverage. I'm not buying another can. You're screwed. Okay? That's how that works. It's all about being gentle. Good quality paint will stretch over and over and over. And you can just keep going until you run out of paint. Go back to the beginning. The roller will pick up the extra paint and redistribute it across that wall again. All right? So don't work too hard. Just work smart. All right, next question. Okay. Bennett Brothers Property Improvements. Okay, as a startup property improvement company, I'm lacking the experience to guesstimate, that's a great word, the time it would take to renovate a bathroom. How would you suggest tackling the labor cost portion of an estimate? Wow. It all depends on your business model. There's an option here. If you're going to guesstimate on a bathroom renovation, you're probably subcontracting, so you can always just do cost plus, right? The time it takes to do a bathroom renovation, completely gut it, change all of your plumbing, locations, electrical, permits, inspections. You're looking at 4 weeks. Okay? Remember, your business model is 25% material, 25% labor cost, 50% everything else. So if you want to do the guesstimate, one guy in 4 weeks can do a complete custom job head to toe if he's got the skill. So that's your salary expectation for labor. Make sense? All right. Hopefully that helps. All right. Okay. So Julian says his roller nap keeps coming off the roller as I paint the ceiling. Am I applying too much pressure? Or could it be the cheap roller? It could be both. Here, Matt, can we get a look at this? Okay. Now, Julian, you can go and buy yourself a $2 cage, right? Or you can buy this one. All right, this one's 18. Okay, you see that? It's got really good locking points on both ends. It's really solid, and it's ball bearing construction, okay? This thing never comes off without a good smack. Like, I gotta give it a good crack in the butt there to take that off, right? Once you got it on, as long as when you're working, you've got this pointing in the direction that you're painting, okay, you're gonna be fine. If you have a cheap roller, then you've got to go hold it backwards to keep it from falling off. You're also leaving the pressure on the back side of the roll, and you're making a hell of a mess. So spend the extra $20 on a good cage, spin it the right direction, put the pressure over here, get rid of your lines, and it'll stop sliding off. All right, that is money in the bank. That'll take you from a guy who's trying really hard to a professional painter right there. $20. Yep. And you can only roll one wall at a time, which means you only need one of those cages. Yes, Chris, go ahead.
Do you recommend pre-painting trim or painting it after it's been installed on the wall?
Okay, so that's a great question. Do you pre-paint the trim or paint it after it's on the wall? It all depends on your flooring and what's going in when and what order, okay? If you're putting your trim on finished flooring, it's nice to pre-paint because you've got your trim height. When you're nailing it in, you can nail a couple inches higher into the detail usually, right? And then you can patch the detail of the nail and then just paint the top edge where you caulk to the wall after you've done your wall paint. And you don't have to paint the bottom again. So you're not getting anywhere near your floor. So you protect yourself from having that smudge mark on the floor every few feet. You know how that is. But at the other end, if you're doing new home construction and the flooring is going in after the base trim and then they're going to add shoe mold or cord around, then painting it after it's installed makes the most sense because then you can get a good quality airless sprayer. You can paint all your doors and trim in place on the wall and then put in the flooring. All right. When I did contract tile for new home construction, the house was completely painted. Everything was done before we even showed up. We did all the tile work on a finished surface. So that works. They work in both ways. It all depends on, are you putting the floor in after or before the trim? And that's the choice you got to make. All right. Eric's got a question here. New Jersey in the house. 1970s wood paneling on the basement wall. Love it. Flooded 8 inches. Yeah. It's all dry now and no swelling. Okay. Doesn't smell too much. Do you think it needs to be ripped out? Yes. Yes, indeed. You live in New Jersey and you had flooding from that hurricane event. That was sewage water. It was a small percentage of sewage water, but that bacteria is now in your walls and growing. Okay. And it'll keep growing until it smells really so much. So you can wait until the smell becomes so bad that you're like, wow, he was right. Or you can jump on it now. if it's one of those situations where like you'd really not have to spend the money to fix it, because maybe there's not a whole lot of that around and you have better things to do with it, feel free to wait a couple weeks and see if you get lucky. But I'm just telling you, man, that's putting $100,000 on 36 on roulette table one time. You know, you might get lucky, but you probably won't. All right, here we go. We're getting some thanks and cheers. That's nice. Jason Pereira. He's got a 1960s home in Ontario. That's in Canada, for anybody who doesn't know. He's got copper drains. Nice. Start to have leaks above ground. How do I check if it's leaking under the slab? You have to get a camera inspection. You can actually hire a plumber, and they'll bring a camera over, and they can do an inspection of your pipes, and they can follow it all along, see if you've got roots or breaks or anything like that as well. Camera inspection usually only takes about an hour. They're going to charge you $300 or $400 for the pleasure, but at least then you know if you're throwing good money after bad on your situation there. And it might convert from copper to something else. It might go copper to cast or copper to, God only knows. 1960s was a wild west. I've seen fiberglass pipes underneath concrete slabs before, because everyone was experimenting with trying to become the new best practice. So yeah, just because you got copper coming out of the slab doesn't mean it's copper all the way to the lateral. All right. Cheers. Good luck. But a good camera inspection will tell you everything you need to know. You should have a clean out somewhere near the outside wall that is just a little square nut on the cap, and the plumber will be able to solve that problem. No problem. Next. Woohoo. Let's answer some questions tonight. Pardon? Oh, yeah. My son's telling me don't forget to like the video. You know, throw the algorithm a little bit of love. Cheers. What is my opinion on epoxy paints? Well, I love epoxy paint. I especially love using it when I'm not wearing a respirator. That's a joke for anybody who's done that. Epoxy paint's amazing, and it works. But it doesn't matter about the paint. It's about the surface. Seen a lot of guys doing epoxy garage floor painting jobs on the internet, and that's nice, but be careful, because if your slab doesn't have a vapor barrier, don't care what you put on your concrete, moisture is going to come through that, and it's going to destroy your work. Okay? So you got to make sure that you at least have a house where the concrete's protected by a vapor barrier. Other than that, yeah, epoxy is great. All right.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead, Chris.
What's your favorite paintbrush brand? Someone's trying to recreate your TikTok earlier, cutting your line without tape.
Okay, that was in that video. I was using a Sims oval brush. They sell those over at Lowe's. That's the brush I was just using now. But I just picked up, there we go, another 3-inch brush from Newer. Okay, listen, in my experience, if it holds paint, it works. I'm going to try this one out. I'm always trying new brushes. At the end of the day, I like a 3-inch brush because it holds a lot of paint. And if you're a really good painter and you know how much paint your brush holds, it equates into dollars and cents, and go with 3-inch. If you're not and you want to slow things down and be more cautious, then go with a 2.5-inch brush. But for the most part, if you can buy a brush for $12 to $18, it's going to do the job just fine, right? You can spend $50, but $12 to $15 will get you a decent brush. Okay. Oh, what do we got here? Marcus Aurelius is in the house, man. I thought he died a long time ago. That's awesome. How cool.
I got another one.
Go ahead, shoot.
What's the best way to tie in plumbing for a basement kitchen sink? Basement is pre-plumbed.
Okay, the best way to tie in plumbing for a basement kitchen sink.
Yeah.
The basement is pre-plumbed.
Yeah.
Well, if it's already roughed in, you've already got to drain and a vent. So you're laughing? If it's not, I don't understand the question. That's confusing to me. Yeah, I would suggest that if you're doing a major renovation project like this and you're a DIYer, you're going to tackle this stuff on your own, feel free, guys. Jump over to our homepage. Join our membership program. You can send us pictures. We got a forum there. You can ask questions. I know I'm a little lagging there. I'm a bit behind, to be honest with you. But I'll catch up soon. A few more days. I'll be done the house. And we'll be able to be more real time, and I'll let you know when that happens. But don't just go it alone. Don't find 15 and 20 sources of information to answer your questions. It'll drive you nuts, because everyone will argue, right? There's like 10 guys in one room and there'll be 12 opinions. It'll drive you crazy. All right. Julian again. Oh, jeez. Hope you got making notes. Bought window casings that are finished. By this means I have to still paint them a semi-gloss, right? Do I have to sand it first like we do walls? Window casings that are casings or jam extensions, my man? I've never seen window casings that are sold pre-finished because everything has to be glued and caulked and nailed and then filled, and then it wouldn't make any sense to me. Wow, interesting. Curious to hear about that. Existential Paint has got a question here, Eric. Just below Justin's, I'll get back to it in a second. Would you suggest putting an anti-backflow valve on a septic tank? No. There's no back pressure. There's only one source of water for a septic tank, and that's from your house. Okay? What I do suggest is that you have an access relief position. Okay? Have a clean out that's really accessible going out of the building. So in case it fills up and it gets clogged, you can take out the pressure so that you can still service that line if you need to, in case it freezes in the wintertime. But that's only on really old houses, right? Okay, back up to Justin. How do you feel about DMX versus other brands such as Drycore? Okay, DMX is still only 30% of the price. So that's how I feel about it. But at the same time, you know, the last year or so, plywood's been so bloody expensive. Drycore actually made financial sense. So, you know, I'm a big fan of the larger the material you use, the less joints you have, the less problems you have. That's why I teach people how to use 4x8 sheets of tongue groove plywood on DMX. Okay.
So all things Australia up here, it said, wish I'd watched this earlier. It sounds like they didn't paint.
Yeah, I did it wrong in the shows. That's okay. Tape the ceiling edge to get a good line. When I took the tape off, remove the ceiling paint. Any tips regarding taping? Yeah, you know, here's the funny thing. You can't tape a flat ceiling. You will actually peel the paint right off the damn ceiling. It's a real sensitive paint, right? Just treat a flat ceiling like baby skin. Don't touch it, man. I mean, it's just not good. If you want to have a nice edge at the ceiling, I'll show you in a few minutes when this paint dries, and we'll cut the ceiling in, and it'll be a piece of cake, right? You'll be like, if it's that easy, I don't even buy tape. I buy painter's tape for other things other than painting. It's like, just like the old rule, you know, duct tape, right? Red, green time. Duct tape, you don't ever actually use on ductwork because it doesn't last. It dries out and goes crispy. So we actually have different tape for ductwork, but they sell duct tape. And you can use it for all kinds of stuff, just not for ductwork. Same with painter's tape. You can use it for all kinds of stuff. Just don't ever use it to paint. By the time you're done painting and taping out a room, I've cut it and rolled it, and I'm on lunch break. Give me a break. Yep, go ahead, Chris. Yeah.
We've got some love on the most recent underlayment video.
Okay.
Also,
Yay.
there we go. Oh, no.
Glad that helps. You know, while we're talking about it, that underlayment video we just put out, there's some interesting comments in the comments on that one. We did not get sponsored to do that video. I'm not a shill. I happened to realize that there are my favorite cost-saving measures that 90% of you aren't going to go and follow. Okay? And so since you're going to go buy all your stuff at Home Depot anyway, I figured I would go out and research and find the best product they were selling. And it turns out that they had a pretty decent product. Yes, it's expensive, but you get more performance out of that underlayment with a normal vinyl floor than you will a vinyl floor with the attached underpad. Okay? So save your money, buy a good underlay. And anyway, go ahead.
The question was, when do you prime versus not prime?
Okay.
Repeat it.
Anytime you have new drywall compound, you have to prime. The question is, when do you prime instead of not prime? If I'm painting latex paint over latex paint, I never prime. It's a waste of time. Unless it's a black wall and I've got to try to change the color, then I'll use a gray primer so that I can actually cover it with a color. Unless you need coverage, like that scenario, or you have oil paint on your walls, then you need to have a transition primer from oil technology to latex paint technology. Or you have new drywall compound, you need to prime then too, right? Or if you have plaster walls, and you want to repair them, you need to prime before you repair it. Unless you want to go into the plaster business, because if you use a flat oil-based primer as a primer on plaster walls, you can transition to modern day technology and use regular all-purpose drywall compound and patch your holes on plaster. No, you don't need primer just because you're painting. Half the country has got homes built after 1980. There's no oil in them. Half the people in this country don't need primer. If your home was built after 1980, you don't need primer. Don't buy it. It's a waste of time. Anybody selling paint and primer in one, it's a marketing scheme. It's a load of crap. You're buying junk. You're wasting your money. Okay? Spend good money on good quality paint that gets you great coverage. So you only need 1 gallon of paint for the room. Instead of paint and primer in one, you need 2 gallons for the room. Oh, it's only $50 and the good stuff's 60. Well, the good stuff, you only need 1 can, not 2. So, it's worth it sometimes to know what you're buying and what you're doing so you don't have to waste your money. All right. Oh, that was a lot of talking. I need a sip. And just remember, if you join our membership program while we're live on the air, we'll do a cheers. And the more people that join the membership, the crazier this ride gets. All right. Avenger 532, is it worth putting waterproof paint like Drywall on concrete foundation on the inside? Okay. I got nothing against the guys at Drywall. I understand where they're going with the concept. If you're going to treat your walls so that you can then finish the room, you need a 50-year solution. Drywall is a 5. Okay. I've seen so many occasions where people have tried that product and we've had a flood and we've had to open up the walls and the product has failed. It's like building a submarine out of Lego and then waterproofing the inside of it and expecting it to hold up. It's just not going to work. There's a lot of water and a lot of pressure coming in through those walls from the outside if it's not waterproof. And painting the inside of the wall just is too little too late. Okay, I get the idea, but in most cases, if it's just ground moisture you're protecting yourself from, maybe, but most people have actual water, and so it's just not going to work. That's my own 2 bits. Anyway, next question.
This is
You got one here?
popcorn ceiling question for you.
I love popcorn ceiling questions.
Difficult.
All right, Jennifer, here we go. This one's for you. We have a home with that textured ceiling stuff. Very descriptive. I love it. What's the easiest and cleanest way to remove it? That's a great question. It's really 2 parts. What you need to do is, this is actually going to work really well. I have that textured ceiling stuff right here. Can we get up here? All right. Ready for this, Jennifer? Here we go. Yeah, that stuff rubs right off. That means it's not painted. If your stuff rubs right off, then all you got to do is get one of those little white jugs with a hand pump. There's a little wand on it. And you can just spray a little bit of water mist on there. Give it 5 or 10 minutes, and you can get a 6-inch drywall knife, and you can just scrape it right off, okay? Piece of cake. Sand your ceiling, maybe 1 more coat of mud, because usually they use it because they're only using 2 coats of mud and not 3. And then you can go to smooth ceiling. If it doesn't just come off with like using something plastic or paper, trust me, it's been painted, and now you're going to need some more heavy equipment. If it's been painted, sometimes your best option is to just fill it right in or put a brand new ceiling right over top and double it up. The benefit of this is you can actually install a second layer of drywall over the drywall. Go with like a 5/8 drywall and get sound transmission control at the same time as the new ceiling, right? And it's easier to install new drywall and tape it than to resurface all of the ceilings. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. And no matter what you do, you're painting the ceiling and the walls. So you're committed, right? I'd rather put 2 sheets or 3 sheets of drywall on a ceiling, a couple of tape joints, a little bit around the edge. Boom, you're done in a couple hours. Scraping all that mess off, 3 big coats, the whole ceiling, it's a lot of work. I'm telling you right now, a lot of work. You're going to spend more time and money trying to resurface than if you just reinstall, okay? And it's not that hard. All you got to do is when you ready to put up the new ceiling, right? Just bounce a hammer around a little bit, find out where the nails are, get a stud finder, identify where the studs are or the strapping, run a couple of pencil lines or chalk lines, and then you can just screw right to that. No big deal. Okay. What am I drinking? Well, today we are having a little bit of Oyster Bay from New Zealand, Sauvignon Blanc. It's lovely. It was a good year because it got all the way across the ocean to my fridge. All right. Yes, honey?
What do you feel about epoxy countertops? Maybe we should do a demo on that.
You know, epoxy countertops are cute, right? But you sure as hell can't cook on them. They're not food grade safe. So, I mean, as long as you're ready to make sure you've always put your food on something other than the countertop, I guess you're fine. But that's epoxy, you know? I don't go into too many warehouses and have lunch on the floor. So I wouldn't expect that to be a good option. Listen, lots of people cheat. They use their knife right on their countertop. If you have epoxy, you can't. Other than that, I mean, whatever. It works. It's safe. It's waterproof. If you like spending lots of money on a trend, then go right ahead and do it. For my money, if I'm going to put in a countertop, I want it to last 50 years. And I'll guarantee you in 10 years, we're going to look back at all these people that have a river running through their countertop. And we're going to be like, oh my God, what a stupid trend. Happens every year. Every year there's another bloody stupid trend. So go ahead. If you like making a new countertop every 5 years to keep up with the Joneses, it's all up to you. I just like to keep it simple. If it looked like it was natural, never goes out of style. It's called simple. All right. Somebody else got to have a question for me.
Yeah, we got it.
Here we go. Javier Vega. My townhouse in Staten Island, New York, built in 94. How do I know if there's a vapor barrier on the slab? I would like to install LVP in the basement. Thanks. First of all, Javier, 1994, if you want to put LVP in your basement, you don't need to worry about if there's a vapor barrier or not. Okay? LVP can go right on the concrete even if it doesn't have a vapor barrier because it doesn't absorb moisture. Okay? I would still suggest use an Abitech underlayment like the one in the video that we put on our YouTube channel yesterday. And you can use the blue tuck tape and you can seal those joints. Okay? And create a vapor barrier. That way you get sound transmission control, impact noise, all the benefits of that underlayment, plus a bit of a thermal break for a fraction of the price of a massive subfloor situation. Okay? So it's definitely an option. And folks, listen, when you're asking me a question about my advice, understand that I've got to understand where you live, the age of your home, your budget, your price point. Because I can spend $30 a square foot on your flooring in your basement, or I can spend $3, and they all work. But they perform at different quality points for different reasons, right? So if you're not asking me about subfloor, I'm assuming you've decided not to put a subfloor, and you're probably just trying to finish off a space for the kids to beat each other up in, and that's great, right? Like, let's just be real. I had 2 brothers. We finished a room in the basement just so that we could fight all day long and have fun throwing each other around like against the wall. My parents didn't have to watch. It's awesome. Ask a question, Chris. Go ahead.
In the episode where you were staining the deck and the cedar, you were using a oil-based product.
Yeah.
Cedar wall, and used a high-end cedar. What was the product?
Okay, so I used Osmo oil. Okay. There are 2 or 3 major high-end oil products on the market. Some take additives for UV protection. They got a little colorant to them. But when I go with select cedar, and that's really sexy wood, right? I like to just go as clean as I can. I don't care if I got to stain that really nice cedar every year and put a new coat on, because it does fade in the sun just a little bit. I'll spend an hour every year touching that sucker up because I want it to look like the day it was installed. Right? I don't want to be adding colorants. But for stuff that's lower grade or naughty stuff, yeah, I'll put a colorant in just to get the UV protection out of it. All right. There's no such thing as one right answer to every question, right? There's a lot of great products out there. Just got to figure out what's best for you in your situation. Okay, can I DIY an interior French drain for basements? Okay, so I get this question a few times. Okay, if you want to do a DIY interior French drain, your biggest challenge is going to be finding the right technology for the job. Okay? Seriously, as a homeowner,
just rent the jackhammer at Home Depot.
Oh, hold on. I know the process, but the materials, the waterproofing systems, these are all not available at Home Depot.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
they don't sell it.
We should start another podcast where I challenge you on.
I would love that. But listen, you can do a 95% job, but to get the gold standard that these companies are selling, yeah, you can't buy it because they're not selling it. They're not retailing that product. Now, the process, yeah, you jackhammer. You open up a trough right in front of all of your foundation, okay, your footings, and you put in a pipe. You connect it all, and you connect it to your lateral. You slope it all right away. You backfill it. You pour it over the concrete. The only thing you don't have at that point is you need to have a vapor barrier from the top of your wall all the way down your wall and into that trough before you cement. So you've completely isolated all of the moisture and all the water on the outside of the building behind that vapor barrier. All right. There are only two materials in the world that are actually waterproof. Okay. And that is steel and glass. Everything else, vapor travels through. Even Schluter, the orange stuff, vapor does travel, but it's such a low level, it's considered waterproofing. All right. When you're dealing with your basement foundation and you put in your, let's say, Super 6 poly, and you're trying to mimic the system, even the plastic vapor barrier system, moisture travels through it. Okay. Have you ever had a plastic jug of something in the fridge that was there for like a couple of months, and you go to pick it up and there's this residue of gooey crap on the shelf? It's because plastic leaks. It just does it really slowly. So the waterproofing technology you're talking about has got such a high level of vapor protection that it's classified as a waterproofing system behind a buried wall. At the end of the day, Super 6 is going to get you 95% of the way there. So I'll leave it up to you to decide if you want to roll the dice. All right? It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's hard to say to somebody, spend $25,000 on a French drain system and get a company, because the reality is a couple of tool rentals, maybe $1,000 of material, you could do it yourself, probably in like 2 or 3 days. So yeah, maybe 95% efficiency for saving that kind of money is worth it. Hell with it. Let's do that, Matt. I mean, let's challenge ourselves. We're going to do a French drain system. We'll do a video. All right. We'll turn the world upside down. All right. Next. Mitzi. Hello, Mitzi. I live in a home built in the 60s, located in Michigan. Ooh, you got an experimental home. That's awesome. I need advice on how to measure interior doors with solid wood framing.
This was a follow-up. Let me just find the original.
Okay.
It was just a little bit more detail on the first one.
Yeah. What's the best way to measure and replace interior doors? Interior doors. Okay. My home was built in the 60s and the framing is solid wood. I believe all the doors are the same dimensions. Thanks for help. Okay. So in the 60s, door jambs were still 3/4 inch. All right. Today, a lot of door jamb material is 5/8, which is smaller. So what you want to do, Mitzi, is you want to go and measure the size of the slab of the door, the actual door. And it'll be like 30 or 28 or whatever. We make the same size doors today. Also check the height. Back in the 60s, a lot of times they were 78 inches. People were short, right? It's not until recent time we started making them 80 inches. If you buy a replacement door for a door from the 60s that's the same size door slab, you're probably going to find that you're going to need bigger casings to cover the existing holes. So if your casing, the trim around the door is, let's say, 2 inch or 2 1/4, go out and buy yourself 2 1/2 inch casing, all right, to make up for the difference in the small change in the thickness of the door jamb. But that's about it. You're only going to be out an 1/8 of an inch on each side, and you'll be just fine. All right, cheers. All right, Krista, we just bought a 1978 home with a mill in the lower level under our living space. Any idea what a mill is? What can we do to absorb the noise between levels? With a mill.
Mother-in-law?
Mother-in-law. Ah, okay.
Nice.
Got it. Not bad. Look at this. Wait, it takes a team. All right. Okay, so you just bought a 1978 home with a mother-in-law on the lower level. Not even necessarily yours, but there is a mother-in-law. Okay, what can we do to absorb the noise between levels? Is there a material we can use under the floor upstairs? Yeah, that's the wrong place to fight that battle. The best place is in the ceiling in the basement, to be honest with you. Or the other thing you can do is you can just turn on music all day long. There's little earplugs you can buy. But if you're not in the basement solving the sound in the room that it's created in, you're not going to be happy with your results. You're going to just throw good money after bad. Okay, so you definitely want to deal with it there. Wow. Yeah. Good luck with that. All right. If you really want sound control and you're looking for a solution that's not too expensive, consider adding carpet with a good quality underpad. That sucker kills just about all the noise. All right. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
All right. TikTok question.
Massachusetts home. What vinyl flooring is best in a dry basement? The 1900s home with confirmed asbestos tile.
Okay, so the asbestos tile is irrelevant. You just leave it where it is and go over top. As for what's the best vinyl for a basement, there's no such thing. The best thing for a basement with asbestos tile is a good underpad. Okay, you can buy a 5mm vinyl plank that'll lock together just fine, and with no attached underpad. Buy a good underpad, like in the video that we did yesterday. All right, and then you're going to get 5mm vinyl for such a low price. You can afford the pad, and it'll outperform an expensive vinyl with a pad every time. It's just a waste of time buying the 2-in-1. All right. Hopefully that helps. The other thing is, if the asbestos tile is intact and in good shape, just treat it like concrete. All right, don't touch it. Just pretend it's your concrete floor, and you'll be fine. The best way to handle asbestos tile is to just treat it like concrete and go right over top. Okay. Anika, could we talk about or explain level 5 finish for a wall? Is it worth it or hard to do as a DIY? Well, it could be worth it, but is your whole house level 5 finish? Is your neighborhood level 5 finish? Like, I'll just be honest with you. Level 5 finish means that after I'm done all of this work and I do my prime check, I make sure I got no scratches. I'm going to take a 4x10 trowel and I'm going to surface the entire wall and drywall compound, smooth that out and sand it, okay? So that I don't have any wrinkles or transitions, no risk of an imperfection. That's a hell of a price to pay for what? Right? You got to really live in a certain kind of special house before that quality is necessary, right? Because there are very few people in this world that are walking in by a house going, well, that's not level 5. I'm not buying that. That's junk. I mean, it's just not happening, right? 1 in a million people are looking for level 5 finish. When you go into new home construction, you got level 3, okay? The average DIYer who gives a damn is going to get level 4, okay? So just have your own integrity in check. Follow normal tapering procedure, and you're going to outperform new house construction. No big deal. I'm not saying anything bad about new house construction, guys, but let's just face it, you guys are under the gun. I've had those guys chase me for years. Oh, come work for us, do new houses. I'll give you $800 to tape a whole house. And I would just laugh in their face. Yeah, you know what? $1,000 to tape a house. Crazy. What's the going rate nowadays? Because I have been out of that game for a while. But even back then, that was a joke. All right. What do we got here? All things Australia. I'm liking that title.
We had Australia love here too today.
Cheers to Australia. Concrete sealing. How long do you have to wait to apply the clear sealant after the pour? Any favorite sealant? Also, what type roller? In relation to what?
I'm going to assume a garage. It'd be sealing a concrete floor.
Yeah. So here's the thing about concrete. It cures about 2 years. Right? For 2 years, the extra moisture is leaving. If it's a new pour, it's got a vapor barrier underneath, and you seal it, now you're trapping the moisture. It can't finish its curing process. So I'd give it a good couple of years before I'd mess with it. I know it might sound a little ridiculous. You won't see it, but Yeah. Yeah. I'd wait 2 years. I wouldn't be in a hurry to seal it. You know, I'd put an orange cone at the door and say, stay the hell out of my garage if you want it perfect so you can seal it later. But I'd wait 2 years. That's just me. I'm old school. Nichelle has a question. She's from Indiana. Do you need to tear out the entire floor to put in subflooring in a kitchen? Okay. So let's just break this one down. Subfloor in most houses, if it's wood, is the one thing that goes on top of your floor joist so that you don't fall into the hole, right? If you want to add another layer of subfloor, the only time you're ever going to do that with an existing kitchen is if you're switching over to add tile. Most kitchens have a kick plate system where if you add the subfloor and leave the kitchen alone, you can build it up, add your tile, and then trim out around the kitchen cabinets. And that's perfectly acceptable. It's done all the time. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to remove your whole kitchen just to put in a new tile floor. It's better to, but if you have a nice kitchen and you don't want to like lose the value of that and risk damaging it in the process, lots of people have paid us to install tile floors around existing kitchens. It's done all the time. All right. Cheers. Well, that was my microphone. Shouldn't do that. All right. How we doing? Yeah, it's almost ready. Unfortunately, where the oil was, it takes a little extra time to dry. Okay, it's almost ready. It takes a little longer to dry where the oil was because it's a flat oil to hide all the black marks, and they're almost gone. It's working awesome. All right. We'll get back to the painting in a few minutes. How could you prevent sewage backflow in a condo basement? We can't demo to install a backflow valve because we don't own the building. Okay, just because you don't own the building doesn't mean you can't make arrangements with the building owner to have that installed. Right? Like, to be honest with you, I would demand it. If it was me. If I was in a basement condo, I'd be like, yo, owner, hook me up. Because, like, what the hell? It's $2,000. Or the next time that I get a flood, how about we have my lawyer contact you and you pay my deductible? Yeah, that's some hardball, but I would be having a serious conversation. Even if you're planning on staying, even if you had to pay the $2,000 yourself, dude, like, who wants to get another sewer bag up? Scott from Cleveland. Hey, Scott. Hi, Jeff. I plan on painting my metal garage door. Any considerations to think about? Planning to use the exterior trim paint I used on the trim around the door. Yeah, considerations. Metal is super smooth. Okay. So consider using a, oh my God, I'm having a brain fart. Consider using a foam roller. There we go. It came out. All right. Consider using a foam roller. Just because anything that's got a nap is going to leave a texture and you're not going to be happy with it. Or even beg, borrow, and steal a sprayer from somebody who has a good quality spray equipment. And good quality spray equipment for doors usually starts around $300-$400 range. So don't just buy something cheap and expect it to work because it won't. But that's what I would do. Go with something that has like foam roller so there's no nap. It eliminates the texture and gets you a much better finish. Cheers, buddy. Okay, let's go. Thoughts on tiling over existing tiling? I have lots of them. Small powder room with solid tile that I don't want to rip up as I need to build the floor up about an inch to match the hallway. Oh, so there's a difference between tile over tile on a floor versus a wall. Why in the hell do you need to build your tile floor up an inch to match what's going on in the hallway? How many layers do you have in the hallway? Wow. You know, in most construction, a tile finish is actually the thickest assembly in the house. And we've developed technology with a membrane that we can use with a tile to get it small enough to be flush with hardwood. That was a major achievement in the last 10 years. You're telling me you need to build up your tile an inch to reach your existing flooring. I'm saying that's a lot of flooring. Man, if you're really committed to it, tear out the tile and add the 1.5 inches of subfloor that you need and then tile again, because that's incredible. Wow. Or consider removing whatever the hell's in your hallway, because that's amazing. Okay, Christina has a question from the TikTok land.
Is there a way to fill holes in my garage door, or do I need to buy a new garage door panel?
Yeah, you can fill. There's lots of fillers out there.
Someone just said, this looks like a ghetto comedy club.
Yeah, it is. Welcome back. How's everybody doing tonight? Where are you from? All right. Okay, so here's the thing. A garage door is metal. So treat it like your car. Go buy Bondo. Okay? Use Bondo to fix a metal door. And it applies like an epoxy compound or really quick hardening drywall mud. But then you use the orbital sander to sand it down smooth. Okay? And then you can just prime it and paint it. Everything's fine. Okay? But you can't use interior technology on an exterior door. Don't go using Drydex or drywall compound or something like that. Go to get Bondo. God, and it works just great. And you'd be like, okay, that wasn't so bad. But if you're not using mechanical sanding, you're in a lot of trouble. Okay, you'll be sanding all bloody day long. All right. Where are we here, buddy? Give me a question I can answer. 1865 original Muskoka cottage. Like, is that like the first one in Muskoka? With a lot of history, in need of a lot of serious work. Basement floods every winter, spring. Anything budget friendly, or would it be a whole lot? Your best answer for 1865 in the basement, all right, is to rent a spray paint machine. Okay, get a few cans of odorless flat oil and spray all of your substructure, floor joists underneath all your subfloor, so that it doesn't absorb the moisture when it gets wet. You don't want to spend the money to keep it from getting wet. So you want to do is protect the wood frame of the building so it extends the life term. Okay? That's the best advice on the market. Don't try to turn that house into a submarine and finish the basement. It's not a basement. It's a cellar. Okay? It's simply structure. It's not somewhere you're going to convert into a living space. Deal with it. Learn to love the water. Protect your wood from it. Okay? You could even put in an extraction fan so that you can exchange the air in the basement and help dry it out faster. That's about the best advice you can get. Best bang for your buck. Protect your wood, switch out the air, get the humidity out of there. And it ain't no big deal. Okay, Matt's got a question here. He's going to put up paneling in a small room. I know I'm going to have to cut pieces. Should I start from the floor and go up with a cut piece at the top or vice versa? You know what? The best plan here is find something level or plumb. Right? If you can find one wall that's plumb or a ceiling or a floor that's level, okay, then you got a reference point to measure from. If everything is all over the place, drop a laser line through the middle of the room and measure up and down from the laser line, and then go up and down from the middle of every piece of paneling. That's the best advice I can get. Yeah, wow. The Packers or the Lions going to win tonight? I don't have any bloody idea. You know what? I'm guilty. I haven't hardly watched any football this year yet. I've been so busy on the house. If I had to guess, I'd put my money on Rodgers. All right. Shut up.
Have you used cork
My heart's
underlayment?
broken. My heart's broken. Pardon?
Have you used cork underlayment before?
Sure.
And do you suggest?
No, I don't suggest it.
You got to repeat it.
Okay, someone wants to know if I suggest cork underlayment, and the answer is no. Cork is a natural occurring material, and we already have a shortage in the world. So why in the hell would you want to consider using that for flooring? Yeah, it's low VOC, but we have other low VOC options now. Okay, so leave the cork alone, for God's sake. Save the trees. We can't even put cork in wine bottles because we're using it as underlayment on floors. Like, think about it. It's a real issue. Like, you know, that's like saying, hey, should we start eating all the zebras because we don't seem to have enough cows around? I mean, like, no, you know, that's just dumb. We don't have enough. Listen, the benefits of cork really, in the absence of any technology since 1990, it seemed like a good idea at the time. But, you know, that ship has sailed. We have technology that far surpasses whatever cork can do for you. So don't even worry about it anymore. All right. Just move on. And it's expensive. Like, who wants to spend that kind of money on it? All right. Martin's got a 1955 house in Colorado with significant heaving in the basement. Yes, because you have expansive soil. We don't have that around here, but you guys do. Slab is independent of foundation, should be. Non-structural issue. Most slabs and most basements are non-structural, just for the record. Okay. What are my flooring options for bathroom in similar areas? Vinyl. Sheet vinyl works really nice, actually. Right? Loose lay. You can just cut it roughly the size of the room, roll it up like a scroll, stick it through the door and unroll it in both directions, trim it and cut it to fit. Be done with it. You're in Colorado. It's a basement. You're not building the Taj Mahal down there. Keep it simple. Keep it flexible. Cheers. All right. How we doing? You know what? That's actually feeling pretty dry. What do you say we do the next coat? I was talking about, I was going to show you guys how to cut the line on the ceiling. Oh, pressure's on. Can Jeff still paint? This is live, folks. No camera tricks going on here. Okay? DIY. Load that sucker up. Get rid of all the excess because you don't want to drip all over yourself when you're learning how to paint. All right? I'm going to come step over here a little bit. Okay? Now, I'm a little short, so I'm going to hold the end of the brush. And I'm going to intentionally go shy of the ceiling. About a 1/4 inch or so. Okay? Get all the paint where I need it. And now I can push the paint around. And then I'm going to just push the brush right into that crack. Bam. And I'm just going to draw my line with the brush sitting in the crack. And there we have it. Well, that's 3 feet of wall in 20 seconds. You can do the math. How fast can you put up tape? Like, to me, it's a no-brainer. That's not even tricky because the building itself is what determines. There's no paint on the top of the brush, just all inside. That was that simple. Well, we'll do it again. I'll show you one more time. We'll do it on the side all over here this time, okay? All right, you guys are coming over my right shoulder. I'll go this way, okay? Let's get some paint on the wall, give or take. All right, now, I can't even see. There we go. Push the brush into the corner. And then you just hold it roughly in the corner. It can come and go a little bit. It ain't gonna matter. Because there's no paint on the edge because you cleaned it off. Right? Does that make sense? If you go at it like this, you're gonna get paint everywhere. Clean it off. You still got lots of paint on the inside, paint from the inside. Piece of cake. All right. Now I'm gonna do the next coat here. I got another trick to show you about your electrical plugs because they're gonna drive you nuts. Especially in a rebuild. You're gonna lose all those little screws. I did. I had 2 screws to manage and I lost one of them already. It's kind of funny. So I'm like, what a great opportunity to teach a secret. All right, let me just cut and roll this sucker real quick. Okay. Yeah, we all spend way too much time painting, really. Now, because it's second coat, we're going to go right to the ceiling. All right? And because it's second coat, we're going to go about 3 rollers wide. Obstacle, we'll turn it around and get close. Okay? Get back to the beginning again. Gentle, not too much pressure. We're just working the paint out. We're pushing it all this way as we go. All right? Beautiful. And this actually ends up being the second coat on the new wall. The new coat on the old wall to hide the fact that this is going to be a different manufacturer and a different paint. And it's just not going to be the same. There's nothing I can do to make this perfect. Remember, once you open a can of paint, this wall and the wall at the end of the paint job are going to have different sheens and different levels of acrylic in it. And so there's no way to make a perfect match no matter what you do. That's why you paint the bottom and then you paint the whole wall. And if you want it perfect, you can cut the ceiling line you're not concerned about it, you don't need to cut the ceiling line. Okay? Or if you don't have a whole lot of light going on the wall, who cares, right? But there you go. That's done. And time. Like roping cattle. All right, here we go. That was it. Okay, last trick. I talked about losing a screw. Here we go. So this screw I have, and it's fine. I put it in. Yay. The one I lost underneath. I grabbed the drywall screw, guys. Drywall screw. 1.25 inch, coarse thread drywall screw. And it works every time. Okay? Now, if you don't like easy, fast ways to solve problems, you want to go to the store, you can buy a number 6 32 that deals with how many thread count is and the size of the screw. That's the size of the screw that holds electrical fixtures to the box. 632. Okay? That's easy. And then, of course, I still have my cover plate because it's in the bag. Yay! Let's get back to some more questions. My project's done. I got to give it about 2 hours. I'm going to come back here probably tomorrow with my brush, and I'm going to just cut in the trim line. No big deal. How would you build your own man cave home bar? Plenty of room. Concept and more precisely getting the water to it and having a drain. It's not near the existing one without digging the concrete. Great question, Eric. Whenever you want to add plumbing, research SaniFlow. You can buy individual pumps just for a drain from a sink from a bar. Okay, you don't need a lot of pipe. You just incorporate a 1.25 inch drain pipe, and these pumps are amazing. They can go up 20 and out 100 feet. So you can be on the other side of a freeway and pump that sucker over there. Doesn't matter. If you want a bar, you get a SaniFlow, you stick it in, you run a pipe up to the ceiling, run it all the way out to wherever it connects to plumbing. You can put your bar wherever you bloody well want. You can put it right in the middle of the room, make an oval bar. And you don't have to bust the concrete. Just have one little pipe coming down the wall with your drain and your water supply line. Yeah, you can go as crazy as you want. SaniFlow makes anything possible, and you never have to think about concrete. It's just great. All right. Cheers. How we doing here? Arrow. How do you get rid of cat urine on subfloor? Carpet pad was removed, but some odor still remains. Okay. To everybody who has this carpet odor issue, cat odor issue, if you get on your computer and you Google fire restoration wholesale supplier, all right, you can contact your local company that sells chemicals for every kind of odor and disaster problem. And the cat odor is called a disaster problem. It's nasty. And they have products there that you can use to get rid of that, eliminate that odor once and for all. Okay. So you call them up, you find out what's on the market in your neck of the woods. And generally speaking, these things aren't controlled substances, so they'll sell to the public. All right. They don't have this stuff in Home Depot for whatever reason, or Lowe's, the best that I know of. If I'm wrong, somebody feel free to jump in the comments and let me know. But I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Dang. I usually remember the name, but not tonight. Oh, well. Google. It works every time. Worst case is worse. You can always cut your subfloor out and put a new piece down. That's not hard. We got a whole video series on how to fix your subfloor. That might be one of the easier ways to do it, depending on your access to a disaster restoration wholesale supplier.
Didn't you just use kills or sand it out?
No. It's in there breeding. Yeah. It's like nasty. It's pungent. It's bacterial. It's nasty. Yeah. You need like a quadramicide, I think is the terminology for it. It's a type of product that kills bacteria but keeps traveling through wood. It's just absolutely brilliant. All right. Jeff has a question here. What is the best way to insulate a 1950s unfinished basement before drywall? 1950s. Okay. You don't want to create a moisture problem. You see, the problem here, Jeff, is you have a moisture problem. You have a 1950s basement. My personal recommendation for 1950s basement is you either build a frame with a house wrap behind the frame. So you have concrete airspace that's dedicated airspace. Okay. Then you have your wood frame in front of it with a house wrap on the backside. And you build that frame on the wall. You put your house wrap on, you staple it down, then you lift the wall in place, and then you insulate. Or, and you can use fiberglass, or if you already have the walls, use the Roxol insulation without a house wrap. And then put the vapor barrier on the front side of inside the house, okay? That way you can guarantee you have an airspace so that the moisture that's going to come through that wall on occasion from different water events can be absorbed by the building structure and then redistributed back out into the atmosphere, and it'll balance itself out. All right? We have wet and dry seasons in the year. And as long as you allow your house to breathe, if it's old, okay, breathing is important when it's old, it'll manage itself just fine. Okay? That's the secret. If you're concerned about it, you can always spray. No, I wouldn't spray. Forget that fact. Leave it to breathe. There's a big debate in the world. Do we let the house breathe? Do we airtight seal it? Well, if you're going to seal it airtight, you better have a foundation waterproofing system so you're not letting moisture into the basement of the house. Old houses have to breathe. New houses should be sealed up tighter than a drum. That's the basic gist. And somewhere along the way, they may or may not have incorporated those technologies in your build. So you then need to identify if you have it, right? But that's a house by house situation, and that's, neighborhood by neighborhood. You like that advice there, Rizzy? Right on, dude. No more flash. Ta-da! Yeah. Buckshot. Inexpensive was to refinish countertops. I think that's inexpensive way to refinish countertops. It depends on which kind of countertop you got. Man. Like, you can paint them. There's a peel and stick wallpaper product. You can tile over top of them. Those are all relatively inexpensive ways. Yeah, there's no shortage of options. And as a matter of fact, in our new studio at the church, we're going to be exploring all of those options and making videos. Just in case, because not everybody's in a budget situation where they can, just throw caution to the wind and spend like they're crazy. Most people have got choices and have other things they'd like to do with their money. So we're going to show you all the different choices in a lot of different scenarios so that you can make a budget choice. Because sometimes you got a kitchen, you're like, if I could just get 5 more years out of that kitchen so that my kids are grown up and they're not going to destroy it on me, then I'll invest in a nice kitchen. In the meantime, I need something that's clean, right? So there's different scenarios. You got any more questions there, Christina, on yours?
Yes, I do.
Hit me up.
When you tile on concrete, should I use floor levels for compound?
Can you tile on concrete? Yes. Your problem is, depending on the age of the concrete, you might get effervescence, which is moisture transfer bringing salts. And so then your grout always changes color. So then the solution to that is using a crack isolation membrane that is also a moisture barrier like a Schluter Ditra. If you do not have a level surface, then you could definitely put a primer and a floor leveler compound on, and then you would use your Ditra. Or if it's not a concern because it's a newer house and it still needs to be leveled, then level it, and then you can just tile right over top. All right, cheers. Cool. Yeah, hit me. I'm here to answer questions, man. Bring them on.
I have a benched basement. Is it okay to have about 1 foot of space between the wall and the drywall?
You have a what kind? A wet?
Benched?
Bench basement? Oh, okay. There's a foundation halfway up, and then it goes adjust, and then there's wood. Okay, right. And they want to know if it's okay to have a foot gap.
Foot of space between the wall and drywall.
Yes. It's not common. Most people like to maintain as much space as possible. But if it's benched and it's kind of dead space, right? So yeah, no big deal. You can just find wherever your shortest distance is and go straight to the ceiling with your framing and drywall it. Not a problem. It's not going to cause you any issue. As long as your insulation and your vapor barrier systems are complete systems and are sealed together, the extra dead air is not going to make a difference. crack that can. Don't worry about it. All right.
Do you have a video on installing a porch with stair railing? Stair railing?
Stair railings?
Yeah.
Yes. I do. I have two. I have one we did at Max's house. Did a cedar one. I did what?
Search function on YouTube.
Oh yeah, that's a great time. So if you want to know about this kind of stuff, you just go to our homepage on YouTube, and you can actually pick out the little icon. There's a magnifying glass there, and you can type in whatever subject you want to research, and then the computer will make suggestions based on videos we've done. And there's hours and hours of teaching on how to do all kinds of stuff like that. We've done 3 or 4 major deck building projects, and we did like painstaking videos every step of the way. So there's tons of content. I think we have a deck video that's almost 4 hours long. Right? I mean, you watch it until you pass out and go to sleep, right?
Jeff, can you tell them that search by channel or to search within the channel works on desktop, not on mobile?
Yeah, that's a great point. The search, the search icon only works on desktop, not on mobile.
Like within a channel.
Yeah, within the channel. So if you go to my channel and you want to search a subject, it's best to be on desktop. And then what you do is you find out what video you want, okay? And then you go and you sit down in front of your 4K HD TV. All right? Now we're talking. My boy Max, can I just brag? My boy Max bought not 1, 2 cameras that are more expensive than most people's cars. This year we are filming at such a high quality, it'll blow your mind if you have a 4K TV. All right? It is literally like next level. You know how like some guys on YouTube, the videos go up, they look like they're from the 70s and they're filmed yesterday? Not here, baby. No. We're sparing no expense. We're putting so much money into the bloody equipment, it'll blow your mind when you watch it. All right? So do yourself a favor. Get an HD TV for your garage or your man cave or your workshop, right?
Or your woman cave.
Or your woman cave, yeah. Because, that's actually the whole house. But, try it out because you'll be surprised. The quality of the video that you're watching is dictated by the amount of signal that your device has. That's how amazing this is. If you're in a cell phone and you're on data and you're in a lousy neighborhood and you only have 1 bar, you're going to watch the grainiest 1950s Jeff teaching you renovation ever. But if you're at home and you got high-speed internet and you're on a 4K TV, look out, baby. All right? We got a question?
1955 Philadelphia home.
Am I just shooting off at the mouth and everybody's tired of hearing me? All right, fair enough. Be like that. Mike's Discounted Goods got a question. 1955 Philadelphia home. Cheers to Philly. 21 square foot bathroom. The average bathroom in North America is actually 5 by 7, so that's not bad. 5 by 7 is, do the math, 35. So we're talking 21 square feet. Okay. Can Hardy backer directly on a wood subfloor with Hardy screws, or do you need mortar? Definitely need mortar in between. Nowhere are you going to see Hardy board installed laminated with screws only. Okay. That is guaranteed to fail. So definitely do the mortar. Okay. That's where the strength in that bond comes from, is the mortar over time. So yeah, dude, buy yourself a bag. I know it's only 21 square feet, but it's the same thin set to put down the subfloor as you're going to use to attach your tile. So you can mix 1/3 of a bag or something. All right. And save the rest for putting on the tile. You're going to have it. I think 21 square feet, you probably have enough thin set there for the Hardy backer and your tile install. Cheers, man. Good luck with your project. Geek Energy TV. I like your energy.
Teresa Malawi said, I want to build a house because of this guy's videos. So.
He's got a concrete porch that's starting to slope and break away from the front door about 3 inches. Wood pillars on concrete. How should I go about replacing the concrete porch? Man, that sucks. You know what? Geek Energy, I need to know where you live. Because whenever you're talking about concrete and exterior, we need to know what kind of weather patterns you're dealing with before I can give you any concrete advice. Get it? Concrete advice? Where's the drummer? Not here. All right. But just jump in the comments there and we'll get back to that question. Go ahead, Chris.
Shari in New York City had a flood.
Yes.
And friend said she needs to install a sump pump, but she doesn't know where to start.
Okay.
Repeat.
Yeah. So someone in New York had a flood and their friends are suggesting they get a sump pump. Okay. So the sump pump costs about the same amount of money as a backflow preventer valve. If you didn't watch the live show from last week, go and watch that live show from last week. Okay. It's about $2,000 for a backflow preventer valve, which will eliminate your risk of flooding through sewer systems ever again. And if you've never had a moisture problem in your basement before, a sump pump is not the solution for you. Your solution is a backflow preventer. Okay, so watch last week's video, get the information. We did drawings on the wall that I had to cover up, and you'll understand what I'm saying. But if this is your first water event, you don't need a sump pump because your house has got good drainage. Your location is fine. Your water came from sewer backup because it was overwhelmed. So if you get a backflow preventer, it won't overwhelm your basement. Maybe someone else's in your neighborhood, but it won't be you next time. And that's the secret. Cheers. Okay, Missouri, St. Louis. Ah, man, my geography is lousy. All right. I'm assuming you're not getting snow then, right? Eric, where's St. Louis relative to the Florida Panhandle and Detroit?
Stand by.
Man, I need to get out more. In the meantime, Benjamin wants to know if I insulate your ceiling, does it need a vapor barrier? Depends where you live, Ben. Again, cheers. Tell me where you live, because if you're in a 4-season climate and you get winter for more than 2 months, then you're going to want a vapor barrier. If you don't want a vapor barrier because you're going to trap moisture in your wood the other 10 months a year. And that's the secret, right? It's like what we're doing here in Canada is we're basically doing something really dumb for 6 months so that we have the best protection for the other 6 months, which would be the more detrimental to our houses. Makes any sense? So during the summertime, having a vapor barrier is dumb. But in the winter, without it, man, your house is going to rot. All right. I know, it's kind of crazy. I wish we could have like a vapor barrier. We could flick a switch, like those mirrors that go from dark to light, open and close. Not going to happen, but it'd be awesome if we could. All right, so where are we? Midwest. Yeah. Midwest, and your concrete is moving away. So if your concrete is moving away from your house and you're in the Midwest, you're getting winter, it really probably because of frost. You have to manage water getting between the concrete and the house, because if it does, it's going to stop there. It's going to turn to ice. It's going to get cold, and it's going to expand. And it's going to push your concrete. I'll tell you this right now. A hole in your concrete between your house and the size of my finger, when that ice, freezes and expands, when it hits that 0 degrees, it becomes this thick. All right. And it'll push 10,000 pounds of concrete. Ain't going to stop it. All right. So your problem here is you get moisture in between your structure and your concrete, and it's just pushing it away. Or you might have a combination of, or you have erosion around your concrete footing somewhere. So check your drainage on your property. Make sure that water is running away from your building and it's not washing out whatever that concrete's sitting on. That can happen too. It's really tough. Jump into the membership program. Go to our forum. Send me pictures. I can give you much better advice if I see what's going on. Sometimes, they put concrete and they just go, it's concrete. It's not going anywhere. They just drop it on the ground. That's just a mistake in the northern climate. All right. Definitely get snow. Yeah, well, there you go. Okay.
If you insulate your ceiling, does it need
Done.
a vapor barrier?
Been there. Ben's back here. He's in Oklahoma.
I was searching when you.
Okay, so Ben's in the Midwest. All right, yeah. So you get winter, right? So yes, you definitely, but only if it's the ceiling to the attic. You don't need vapor barrier from ceiling of the first floor to the second floor. Lots of people get confused with that. You only need vapor barrier on your insulation on the exterior envelope of the building. Okay. Cheers. Oakland, California. Can you put insulation and drywall over wood paneling to insulate? I would take out the paneling. Honestly, it's in the way. It's better to insulate the frame, the cavity of the wall. Don't just like slap it on in front. Because I see what you're saying. You're like, oh, I can put rigid insulation and then drywall and leave the wood paneling there. Yeah, you could, but you're adding 2.5 inches to your wall. Why not remove the paneling? It'll only take you about 20 minutes. And then you can insulate the wood stud bay. And then you can put the drywall on. You get the benefit of insulating to keep your air conditioning separate from the exterior temperature. And I think that's a much better plan. Hey, salute from Argentina. I like your videos. Oh, yeah, you found us from Sam and Audrey. Sam and Audrey are YouTube friends of ours who live in Toronto. We went and did a project at their house. They have a Spanish channel because Audrey's family's from Argentina. That's awesome. We also have a Spanish channel. We're in the process of dubbing our videos into Spanish. So if you prefer to watch tutorials in your native tongue in your Spanish, then by all means, check it out. Right? Renovision en español. Home Renovision en español?
Yeah.
All right. And trust me, the guy that we have dubbing it, his voice is so much sexier than mine. Please. Yeah. We have a team in Colombia producing all that content for us. So cheers to Andres and Javier. Hey?
They're awesome.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Alejandro.
And Alejandro.
Yeah, he's the translator.
Really? We have more. The team is growing. I don't even know what's going around anymore. I'm just in the dark. Next thing you know, we'll be translating this to every language in the world. All right. 1965 New England. He's got a 1/4 inch crack in your garage through the foundation. What mortar should I use? Okay. So first of all, cracks in garage floors in New England. You really want to get something there that's going to be watertight because you don't want to have one of those days where the car comes in, it's covered in snow and it's still hot and it's melting snow all over the place. And then it gets super cold at night. The water's sitting in a crack, freezes, pushes it over, right? And now your building goes like this. It's just going to, you don't want that. So what you want to get is actually, you want to get at very minimum polyurethane caulking for that crack. Or might I even endeavor to say, use an epoxy injection in that crack. Use epoxy to fill it, okay? But whatever you do, you can't have water sitting in that crack when it gets -20 outside, or you're in deep trouble. And it might only happen once or twice a year, but that's all it takes, once or twice a year, right? Okay, how are we doing for time? Hey, we got 32 minutes left. Do you know where your children are? There's way too much romance going on in the back of this corner over here. I don't know what's going on. Man, oh man, have family working with you.
What are you sipping? Pinot Grigio?
No. I found Pinot Grigio a little bit too sweet for my taste. I moved on to Sauvignon Blanc. It's Oyster Bay, New Zealand.
Very bougie.
Love New Zealand. Is it bougie? All depends. It's expensive here, but I really like it. Like, I don't know why, but when we're in the States, some of my favorite wines are so much cheaper. And the Italian ones are super expensive down there. Can't figure it out. It's like, why are you punishing the Italians from drinking wine in the United States? Our Italian wine is so much cheaper up here in Canada than it is in the States. But our Australian wine in the States is so much cheaper than it is up here. Weird. Don't understand it.
Do you have any experience with brick slips / brick tiles? Are they good for internal walls?
Try that one again. I was somewhere else.
Do you have any experience with brick slips / brick tiles? Are they good for internal walls?
It sounds like a faux brick material.
Maybe.
Yeah. No, I haven't installed faux brick. But like anything, if you follow the instructions, you'll be fine. If it's on the interior, it's really all about the installation technique. Read the manuals, use the right products, don't get creative. You'll be fine. The inside of the house is it's what we call conditioned space. So you don't have external weather conditions to deal with. So don't worry about it. If you like brick, go ahead and get it. Alrighty then. What in the world? Hello from Liverpool, England. Getting hooked on DIY because of your videos. If you're going to have an addiction, let it be a DIY one. Yes.
Earlier, someone was asking about what kind of renovations they can do for increasing their return on value.
So renovations for increasing value on their home.
Yeah.
Okay, quick list. Ready? Paint, 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 and paint. Paint the interior, paint the exterior, paint your cabinets, paint your floors, paint anything that needs paint. Greatest return on investment known to mankind. Okay, make it clean, make it sexy. Other than that, I am a big believer that you should work on the outside of your house for return on investment, because that seems to be the most driving factor. Decks, patios, good lawns, hedges, trees, fences. Take care of the outside of the house. Great return on investment, sweat equity. And if you screw it up, you can't break your house, right? Develop your skills. Before you get into bathrooms and kitchens, you have to have all the flooring in your house updated. No sense having a sexy bathroom, sexy kitchen, and crappy floors and paint job and trim everywhere. It's not going to appeal to anybody, all right? So do the majority of the work and save the kitchens and bathrooms to the end. Develop your skills first. And then you can decide if you want to tackle those. Okay. Because then you don't really get good return on investment unless you DIY a kitchen anyway. You can't pay anybody in this world to do a kitchen for you and make money. You're going to lose. So don't bother. Finish the rest of the house where you can make money and then tackle the kitchen. And generally, remodels make good money. Renovations don't. Remodeling means you leave all your mechanical systems in place. You don't change the layout of the room and you just update it. Okay. I know it doesn't sound as sexy as the TV shows, but it works and it'll make you money. Cheers.
Do you think you should show an empty house or fully furnished when you're showing it for sale?
That's a great question. There's two schools of thought on this. I'm staging my house, but only a few rooms, right? Because we want to make sure there's that illusion of space. People can imagine their own stuff in there. But at the same time, most houses have imperfections that wouldn't hurt if you could, put a little lipstick on it by having some furniture in the way. Gotta be smart about it. Something about a perfectly positioned plant sometimes that'll just, nothing wrong with it.
Makes me want to buy a house.
Yeah. I don't think there's a right or wrong way. Every market's different too. All right, are you done?
Yeah.
Well, there we go. TikTok kicked us off. We did an hour and a half again, and we got kicked off.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. Right. So it's all YouTube now. Hey, Maddie, can we get that? So I'm center on because I'm done with the wall. All right, and we can just focus right here with our folks. Okay. All right. We got a question here. I live in St. Charles, Missouri. St. Louis is called the Gateway Arch.
I think
Below Iowa, how can you level the floor of a 150-year-old house step by step? Depends how bad your floor is out of level. Can I just say there's a couple options. We have something called floor leveling compound, right? And it's basically it's a Portland cement mixture, okay, that flattens itself out pretty good. But there's another product out there. If you're like really messed up floor, there's something called Gypcrete. You might want to consider Googling Gypcrete companies in your area and have them come by and have a consultation and do a price on it. Because there is a gypsum concrete product that they can pour as a floor as well. And it goes in as a liquid and it is a self-leveling product as well. So that's an option. And if it's really horrible, that might be a more cost-effective option because they just run a pipe into the basement and fill her up, right? Depending on how much headspace you got to play around with. That might be a plan. All right. Jason Pereira here has got a 7-year unused bathroom, 1964 home. 7 years unused. Okay. Anything to worry about before using the shower or the toilet? The shower, maybe. Depends on the drain system in the shower. Like there's some drains that are sealed and under compression, and there are some drains that have got a rubber gasket with a compression ring, right? And so 7 years dry, it might need to be replaced. So take a look. If it is any kind of a solvent or solid drain system that doesn't have a rubber gasket visible from the surface, you should be fine. But generally 7 years without using a bathroom means the bathroom stinks because the P-traps dry out and then the sewer gas gets in. So usually, like, you want to go in once a month and at least turn the tap on for 10 seconds just to fill up the P-traps. Just a thought. That's good practice. Okay. Hit me. All right, guys, we got 30 minutes. Ask your questions, and then I'm going to get the heck out of here and go to sleep because I will pass out by the time I get home. Trust me. I'm looking forward to Saturday. I'm taking a day off. Did I tell anybody yet? I know. You know why? Because I can. I'm on schedule. Finally. Woot, woot. And I'm at that point in the project. It's like, oh, hell with it. I'll wait another week to sell the house if I have to. I need a day off. I'm way too tired. Any way to get a perfectly smooth paint finish, i.e. no brush marks or orange peel?
This was asked earlier, so I just came back.
It's an interesting question. Yeah, there is. You can spray it on. You can get it perfectly smooth if you spray, but you got to have good quality spray equipment. And I'm not talking about one of these little battery operated spray. I'm talking about like a airless sprayer. We're talking $1,200 to $1,400 investment. And then you got to practice and you got to get good at it. And you got to use the right paint that's thin enough to go through a sprayer and still perform, or get really good at thinning it out yourself. There's a whole science to it. But yes, it can be done. Is it necessary? That's another issue altogether. But I would say no, it's not necessary for the most part. But no brush marks. Honestly, if you don't want a brush mark, here, let me give you a little example here, okay? I'm going to give you all a little secret. Probably should have made this a TikTok. Chris, maybe should film this. I just took my mic off. Who cares? We'll do it again. There we go. You take your brush, right? And there's a lot of paint there, right? That's a problem. You're going to see that from a mile away. But if you take your brush and you go like this, and you simply wipe it out over a much larger area, when that dries, you won't see a brush mark. I don't care if you got like NASA equipment, you won't see a brush mark. It's all about stretching out the paint so that there's no excess for the brush to leave a mark. Okay? And you can win that battle. You can win that battle. Like when you're cutting around your wall plugs and stuff, don't just slop it on and walk away, right? Make sure you don't have too much brush on your paint, or you've stretched it out and you get to around the plug at the end. Or when you're done, you do the dusting off the four corners and you get rid of all the extra paint. Take your time. I'm in a basement. The light is lousy. I can get away with bloody murder on here with a paint job. I know that. But in some environments, you can't, right? You're going to have direct sunlight. It's going to be coming through the walls, different angles and different time of day. So, the quality of the work is relative to the environment you're working in. Alex says he has people telling him to skip getting building permits to finish his basement in Ontario, including contractors. What's your take on that? Seriously? Well, I'll tell you what, Alex. The laws in Canada are changing dramatically. I would not be surprised if in the real near future, every house that goes on sale is going to have a home inspection. And if when they inspect your home, they find out that you renovated and you didn't get a permit, the government has got enough computer technology now. Don't be surprised if they come back at you for back taxes, plus permit fees, plus an inspection to see if you did it right. And that might mean opening things up. The world is changing. And in Ontario, Canada, we are not letting people play with their own houses as much as we used to. So it's at your own risk. I would say if you're afraid of a building permit, what the hell are you afraid of? Like, it's a basement, right? They're going to check to see if you insulated it right, if you framed it so that the walls stand up on their own. They're going to, like, the permit inspection process is really simple. The only time it's tricky is if you're trying to make it into a secondary living space, like a rental. Then you get with fire separation code and all that kind of jazz. But for a basic construction, to be concerned about a building permit, oh man, if a contractor is telling you don't worry about a permit, what he's really saying is, I don't want to be inconvenienced for 2 or 3 days, and I'm going to cut so many corners, I'm going to make your head spin. Don't go there. Because like a whole basement contract, listen, and when you get off the phone, it's like, all right, yeah, we're going to be done insulating today. I call up the city and say, hey, I need an insulation inspection. Great, see you at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. What's the problem? It's not like they're saying we'll be there next week, right? They're going to be there the next day. So there's no downside to getting an inspection. I mean, if you want to roll the dice, then you better know as much about building construction as I do so that you can protect yourself. But most people don't. So I'd say get the permit. All right. Is that okay, Chris? You were sweating over there. You weren't sure what I was going to say. But seriously, permits are your friend. Listen, building inspectors are generally really nice people. And they're just there to make sure that you're not getting taken advantage of. And if you have a problem having an advocate in your house while you're under construction with a contractor, like, really? It doesn't make any sense. They're not your enemy. Treat them like an advocate. Treat them like they're your best friend who knows everything. And when they go into that house, they're going to catch that contractor and everything they're trying to do shady. And besides, the guy that says don't get a permit, if you say I'm going to get a permit, he won't take the contract anyway. So moving on. He's probably going to wire the house himself, and he's not even a licensed electrician. Yeah, that works out real well when you get to go for insurance. Okay, so next question.
So there it is. We're on
Jeff, what are your thoughts on insulating old window weight cavities in a 1940s house with casings removed? So do you still have the old windows is the question. Because I'll tell you my thoughts on it. That window weight cavity, and we're talking about older houses, right? And next to the jamb, they have a little trap door. And if you peel back enough paint, you can find a slot screwdriver and you can open it up and the weight's sitting there. There's a lead dumbbell sitting there. It's attached to a rope that comes to the window. And there's an airspace there. And so people are always concerned, oh, about the airspace. Here's the deal. That old house has got enough issues going on with it that it's like having a window 6x6 open all year round. That's how much air is blowing through that house. The weight cavities aren't your problem. The problem is, why aren't you reinstalling those weights and the ropes with your existing windows? You're going to be surprised. If you were to glaze your old windows and reattach your weights and ropes, they'd function normally. They do really well on the test as far as how energy efficient they are. So don't just go, oh, it's an old window, it's garbage. Now go, oh, it's an old window. My God, what a gem. I'm going to repair them. I'm going to fix them up. I'm going to restore them. I'm going to functioning rope. And well, that's amazing. Do it. I'm going to do that video actually one of these days. I'm going to go down to the Habitat and I'm going to buy an old window. I'm going to show people how to do that. Because those old houses have so much wood in the wall assembly. It's no different of an R rating than just glass. Like, so tired of everybody going, let's get all energy efficient. And then they build homes that are like 80% glass. It's the dumbest thing on the planet. If you want to be energy efficient, take all the windows out of the house. That's energy efficient. Go live underground. You can do that. We don't want energy efficient. Stop lying to yourself and don't pay for it. My God, get normal. All right. Cheers. Grouting textured tile any different than smooth tile in a shower? Yeah, depending on the grout you're using. In those scenarios, I'd definitely go with Caracolor by Mapei. So you have extra time to wash and clean. Texture grout, man, you got to really be picky because you don't want to have residue sitting there. It wrecks it. The other option you've got is you can use a piping bag. You ever seen a baker bake a cake with a piping bag? You can put your grout in a piping bag and you can pipe the grout lines. And it'll save you a ton of washing. It's a lot harder to apply, but depending on the texture of the tile, there's tile out there that has so much texture, it's like golf balls, but deep crevices. You're going to spend 20 minutes a stone trying to clean that out, right? That's just ridiculous. So consider the piping bag. It might be the answer to your problem. Okay, what's your take? Everybody wants to know my opinion. I'm just a guy. Yeah, maybe. What's your take on ICF framed homes building in your region in Ottawa? Yeah, they're cool. They work. You know, you got a thermal break on the inside and the outside. They're not as good as some of the newer technologies coming on the market. So I think they're in a lot of trouble moving forward. So if you're looking at building a house with ICF, maybe hold off a little bit. Give it another year or two before you pull the trigger on that build. Because there's some really great building block technologies coming out that are like R50, R60 insulated walls that you can build yourself with no concrete pour. I've said too much already, but that video is coming next spring. So yeah, it's world's changing. People are looking for fast, efficient ways to build because in North America, our biggest problem is it takes forever to build a house. Even though we can build one in 4 months when the supply chain's not broken. People are looking for ways to build a house on their own. And so Lego made sense. So now there are 1 or 2, maybe 3 products that I know of on the market that are competing for that space. And some are better than others. But ICF was kind of like the first Lego concept. It was a hybrid, right? Like who wants to buy a hybrid car now? You're either fully electric, right? Or you're not. Hybrid is really, it came because it was like part of a solution, but now it's gone. ICF is kind of like a hybrid solution. It's going to be gone soon. Yes, sir.
What kind of adapter should we use going from PEX to copper?
Okay, so you can actually buy a copper female fitting, kind of like a coupling, and it's a copper PEX tap on it. All right, so you go from you just solder the joint. Oh, you put the fitting over top of the copper pipe, and it instantly converts to PEX. So yeah, you got to do one soldering joint, but you don't want to go with a shark bite if it's going to be buried. You can use shark bite if you got access to it, but I'm not a big fan of burying those in the wall.
What do you think about refinishing hardwood floors as a DIY?
Refinishing hardwood floors as a DIY project, don't do it. Okay, so here's some wisdom for you. Wisdom bomb. Lots of guys have done this on the internet, done their own hardwood refinishing, and they all sit there with the camera and go, ooh, it looks so pretty. The camera lies. All right. Those jobs are disgusting. It is so hard. I've tried twice in my life to do a hardwood finishing job. I have not been professionally trained. It is no joke. All right. It is tricky. There are skills involved in that game. And these guys are so efficient and so proficient, and they've trained their crews and they work like machines. For a couple bucks a square foot, you can pay someone to come in and refinish it and have a warranty and have a pro do it and be guaranteed to be happy. Why in the hell would you want to DIY that? You got to do all kinds of tool rentals and all kinds of investment anyway. You're half invested in the cost of hiring a pro. This is one of these, like, if someone did a DIY heart transplant, would you start thinking about doing surgery on your parents? No, just get the pro. This is one of these areas where even I'm not doing it because it doesn't make any sense. Okay. It's a specific skill set with specific tools. You either got it or you don't. Don't try to fake it. It's always going to be a disaster and you're going to hate it. So I'm not going to encourage you to do that. Yep. Now, having said that, 1 second, if your floors are just old and they've got weird coloring, and you want to refinish them and not sand them, you can use the Varathane renewal process. Okay. That actually comes up pretty nice. That's a DIY refinishing on hardwood. You're not sanding, you're simply stripping all the old waxy finishes off. And it's a stripping and it's a prepping and then it's a refinishing process called Varathane renewal. It's actually available in the box store. That is actually something I would recommend. It's worth trying as a DIYer. At least you'll get a brand new finished floor. And if you're not happy with it, it was cost effective. And you're not going to destroy your home doing it. Sanding, you can destroy the floor. So anyway, sorry, Eric. I didn't mean to cut you off there, buddy.
No worries. How do you do a vapor barrier drywall mud around a garage door and a motor unit? So in the garage, that's probably the motor unit for the garage door.
Yeah, you've got to disassemble the motor unit. You got to take it off. You can't do it around it. Things that have got to be consistent have got to be installed in order, right? So you disengage your motor unit, you hang all around and hang it from some all-round cable or something if you have to. But then you do your insulation, do your vapor barrier, do your drywall, then you reinstall. There's no way to cheat.
How about this one here?
Siding for a 90-year-old house in cold weather climate, prairies, is a hard foam layer over the Tyvek and under the siding, recommend with fiberglass insulation already installed. Okay, so you've got a soft insulation, and then you want to put a hard insulation, and then Tyvek, and then siding. That's a lot of work. If I was you, Tag 44, I would contact your local Gentech representative dealer out there and get their brand new siding product that they got. It's a composite. It's a more expensive, but it's lightweight. It's a thermal barrier as well, and it's incredibly impervious. And you can DIY the install because it's actually a stacking siding system. And you can do that yourself and save a fortune. All right. So consider doing that. It's definitely a step up. Like it's 10 steps up from vinyl. So if you're looking for something to make a really old house perform better, then that might just be the way to do it. What's the best way to run a 14-2 wire in a floor joist? Like how to drill, get the wire through the wood. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you just get a hole saw. Yeah, 14-2 wire, you're just going to grab yourself a drill bit, spade bit is probably your best bet, and get something that's like a 3/4 inch spade bit, and it has like little threads on the tip and it pulls through the wood. That'd be great. All right. And then your secret here is make sure whatever hole you drill, you drill in the middle of the joist. That's all. You're guaranteed to be so far from any potential moron putting a screw through it, you're never going to have an issue. So that's the way to do it. All right. Cheers. Here we go. We got 9 minutes. Let's do rapid fire. Let's do 9 questions.
Back in time here.
We're going back in time. Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo. What are we looking for?
Questions.
Okay. Because there's.
Tell us about how are lumber prices in your area?
Oh, you know what? Give up. I don't think they're going to get much lower.
There we go. I found one.
I honestly, I was thinking about doing a video about it, but that just seems kind of cheap and easy. No, supply chain is still an issue. Demand is still an issue. Depending on who wins the election tonight, we might have different immigration policy. It might make a difference, but we are looking at 440,000 people coming to Canada this year, which is much higher than normal. So there's huge upwards pressure on housing. And so, yeah, lumber isn't going to, it might be the new normal. I'm sorry to say.
Here's one that I wanted to get to.
Yeah, if you live in a wet area like a swamp, can you still add a pool in your backyard? The answer is, it doesn't matter where you live, you can have a pool. It's all about how much money you're willing to spend to get it to do it right. Yeah, unfortunately, it won't be cheap. You know what's cheaper? Going to Europe every year for a month for the rest of your life and vacationing there. That's cheaper. Hey, Jeff, are there any quick temporary fixes for a dryer exhaust venting into an air conditioning condenser? In the long term, would you move the dryer vent location or move the AC unit? Oh, the exhaust is like literally blowing into the air conditioning unit on the outside of the house. Are there any temporary fixes? Yes, there is one. You can install a snorkel. And that is just an aluminum housing where you have your exhaust now. You take your cover off, and it's just like a snorkel. It comes out, it goes up, and it goes out again. And you can actually put the snorkel sideways, so you can have it go out, go left, and then blow. So you're not blowing all of that crap right into your air conditioning duct. All right, it should do the job. But you're gonna have to go to a specialty plumbing and ductwork supply store for that. They don't sell those pretty much anywhere. Make your own. It's just aluminum. But yeah, snorkel is the way to go. If you walk into one of those wholesalers and say, I need a snorkel for my dryer exhaust, they'll just, yeah, I got it, and come back and they'll give it to you. I know. Imagine you can get a snorkel in a plumbing store. Justin says, how do you fix a spot where paint is peeling off the wall, I'm assuming? Mudding over it doesn't seem to work. That's because your paint is installed over top of oil paint and there is no transition primer, so nothing's bonded. And so the moisture in the room is getting trapped by the oil and it's literally lifting the paint off in sheets. The only way you can fix that is put in a new wall or peel off all of that latex paint, add a transition primer, and then start all over again. Sorry to say, you're screwed. Yeah. Man, I tell you, everybody that ever painted latex over oil, thinking they were going to just like, oh, we'll put some lipstick on that pig and move on. They really screwed people over. Okay. Sabrina wants to know, she's got a 1957 ranch house near Milwaukee again. Could use an A to Z video on garage finishing. That's a great idea, Sabrina. Now we're talking. Hey, somebody write that down. Is rock wool the best for the garage? Heating, cooling options, not able to hook up to the house heating. Okay, so you can get a mini split for the garage. All right. That's a great solution for that space. That way you can have heating and cooling from one machine. And rock wool is a great solution. If your house has got a house wrap and the framing isn't getting wet, you don't need to go rock wool. You could just go fiberglass. Saves a lot of money. I know they're the same price per bag, but fiberglass covers twice as much square feet. So you do the math. There's very few places I think you have to use rock wool, right? And so since no one's paying me for my opinion, I'm not going to say you should use rock wool all the time because it's not necessary. All right. Okay.
People ask about the church.
Yeah, dude, we haven't even started renovating yet. We did get some permit stuff out of the way. So we've officially no longer own a church. We now own a single family home. Yay! Took 3 months and $1,000 and we finally got approved. Once I sell this house, we're actually filming an update in a couple of weeks. We're going to tell everybody what's going on, the plans, and we're going to start getting more in depth. We're going to bring you behind the scenes as we build our studio. Now what we're working on is getting occupancy permit. So I probably have to put in a washer, dryer, and maybe a shower. So we'll deal with that. Once I have an occupancy, the biggest issue is getting insurance on an empty church. That was like $1,500 a month. That's crazy. Yeah. So like, thank God we got that zoning change. And I'm getting to wrap it up and move on. All right. So I'm excited about the church too. We'll get there soon. Is MDF good for window trimming? No, I hate it. Use wood. MDF expands if you get moisture and then it never shrinks again. So you're screwed. So just get wood. Michael's installing IKEA kitchen. Throw me some love. Cheers, Michael. Julian again. He's been here the entire 2 hours. Somebody needs to get him a present. Have you installed these new sliding doors with the blinds built into the window pane? We're considering that versus cellular sliding back. Yeah, it's exactly the same as any other door, only they put the blind in between the glass. It's really sexy, but it's exactly what they're selling. A blind inside the glass so it never gets dirty. It's perfect. Is it worth the money? I don't know. Depends what they're charging you for it, but it works. Why do old windows get stuck like the ones with the weights?
How can we get them unstuck?
You know what? It's because they've got 150 years of people painting over painting and never sanding it back. That's it. That old wood was old growth trees. It does not expand and contract like you think it does. It's just a lousy paint job. Trust me, if you actually took the time to refinish it, you'd be surprised how efficient those could be. All right. Someone said contractors and plumbers are lazy and won't take business during COVID. Do you think it's true? No, it's not that they're lazy. It's all the guys they used to hire are lazy and don't want to come to work. When the government pays you to stay at home instead of going to work, you make the same amount of money. What a disaster. We've got a labor shortage right now. Everybody and their uncle is looking to hire people. And I think it's a damn shame that we have people sitting at home and on their butt. Because you know what? Every time I think about it, it's always these younger people that got out of the trades, but their grandma's working at the grocery store, risking her life every day. I think we should force all these guys to go back to work and just suck it up, Nancy. All right. Moving on. Got a question. Any blinds for sliding glass doors that aren't hideous? Well, what do I look like? You know, I'm not a designer. I don't know. The blinds in the door are really nice. Buy some new doors. Get the blinds inside. You never have to worry about it. They never get damaged. They never get dirty. Perfect blind. We just talked about that a minute ago. Okay. Wow. Oh, well, guys, it is 6:59. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks, everybody who came out tonight. Cheers. We will see you all again soon. Stay tuned. We're going to do our next live show is going to be for members in the chat only. We're going to do some catching up. It's going to be a couple of weeks. Let me just get my farmhouse finished first, and then we'll book the next date. All right. So to everybody who is watching, hopefully this was helpful. I enjoyed ripping apart my basement and rebuilding it just for the hell of it to help you guys out. And cheers. We'll see you again soon.